This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I am Anthony Mormino on this final day of March. Seth, I almost had more races to handicap at Gulfstream Park on Saturday than we have aggregate today. 14 on Saturday for me, 16 combined for the Big A and Parks this afternoon. Also, quick note, we were talking about it. The part about Gulfstream Park that we sort of all grew up with and everything, you know, has ended. They're not, the next Gulfstream Park live card is Friday. I was saying tongue-in-cheek on Horses and Courses, which we just taped this morning, that the Gulfstream Park winter, spring, summer, fall meet now, but now it goes down to Friday, Saturday, Sunday racing, and all the talk has been, and they got the word out that, you know, it's June 29th, folks, for all the Rainbow Six players, so there was no mandatory payout over the weekend, but now there'll be no Wednesday, Thursday action at Gulfstream Park, which sort of hurts us on the network because Wednesdays we had gotten together with Tampa and Gulfstream Park. We're not going to have, Jeff Carl was telling me that I know in the condition book they were looking at April 2nd for turf racing in New York, but he said they've already announced they've pushed that back a little bit. In Chicago, I know I looked at the Hawthorne condition book. They're looking at April 11th. But Gulfstream Park now Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Rainbow Six is still standing, and now it's just a matter of, Seth, and I'm still surprised the man from Jersey got it last year. There are just so many darn bases covered for the 20 cents. I mean, you know, but...
and I said this a couple of weeks ago, you know, this championship meet ends. Now the field sizes will go down as folks move out of town so that more bases can be covered. So you would think it would last a lot longer. But I'm going to be really interested to see, because of that, will it still have the same juice through the end of the meet? Now, certainly, if it doesn't get hit, that last day is going to be berserk, because by then, even if it doesn't have the same juice that it has right now, this pool is going to grow and grow and grow over 2 or 3 months. So by the time they get to the last day, if it hasn't been hit, people will jump in for the mandatory payoff. But will it have the same level of excitement in the interim? I'm going to be interested to see how it plays out. I mean, there's still $4 million in there, but will the whales jump in taking a shot at the $4 million, knowing that it's going to be very tough, particularly on some of the days where there will be some shorter fields? It's going to be fun to see how this plays out. I think, to me, they would have been smarter to go to the legislature, and they would have had to have some kind of, it would have had to be mandated by the state, but I think they could have requested, and they probably would have been looked favorably upon to do it at the end of this championship meet. That, to me, would have been the smarter move.
I've wondered from a financial standpoint, if you're these syndicates or whatever and you're involved, are you kind of forced based on your investment to continue chasing it, or do you just leave your money in the pot? And I thought that was a tough quandary. I mean, if you've chased it, you know, and we'll take not the Naira. I mean, say you're going in for $800, $400 or $500, and you've done it, you know, syndicates, let's say 10, 15 times. Do you walk away from all that money?
And that, to me, is going to be the question. I'm not quite
I'd have to
sure
say no. You have to keep going, because you got to figure they didn't go over. They might have invested, you know, with the 20-cent increments, and you're buying 16,000, 1,600, that they got money back in the payouts. So they're not Tap City, but I'm thinking you can't leave your money there. You got to go after it. So I think that might help it out. And then if it got near the end at Gulfstream Park, if I was the racing secretary, I might ask for a couple of non-entries to get to the last day with field size of 14 on the last day to have. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I felt that with the 20-cent increment, with the field size, which, by the way, as a person who now has covered Gulfstream Park day-to-day for 4 consecutive years, the Calder Gulfstream Park concurrent hurt field size throughout the meet. It didn't decimate it, but 6- and 7-horse fields didn't happen the last 2 or 3 years, and it happened often this year. So, your thoughts on the weekend?
Well, just to wrap up thoughts on the transition period. We are now in that transition period. We've hit it. Laurel wrapped up their winter meet. Fairgrounds wrapped up their meet. over the weekend. There's going to only be one dark day this week for Aqueduct. They're only dark tomorrow. They kick back in with their Wednesday through Sunday schedule starting this week. So we are in that transition period.
Keeneland on
we're
Friday.
Going for, we're losing some of the wintertime tracks over the next few weeks. We'll have more and then move into the springtime tracks. And just to touch on Gulfstream once more, we had Mike Welch on with us yesterday. I found this interesting. He talked about the results of the Gulfstream Park Oaks and said Alan Jerkins very emotional afterwards because he had House Rules run second, and the Pletcher horse just held on in that race. And Mike Welch said Alan Jerkins quite emotional, thought he had a good shot at winning the race, and Mike could tell he really wanted to win the race. But more interesting to me, Mike said Alan is not sure at this point whether he's going to come back to New York for the springtime. He'll certainly come back for Saratoga, but he may stay down and race at Gulfstream from this
weather?
point. And I guess, he's obviously
moving.
an older guy,
Yeah.
and boom, he's down there, and I'm sure he has a house down there, and so he may just stay there. And Mike did say he'll be back up for Saratoga, definitely, but he may not head back to Belmont.
I'll tell you one of the things that shocked me about
And I'm going to be interested to see what the other big stables do, too, because some of the other ones have mentioned, like a Todd Pletcher's not going to be based down in Florida, but I've heard some of these stables mention they're going to have strings down there now.
I got to tell you something, Seth. I am shocked with the length of the meet and how many turf races they ran every single day. That turf course looked like it was in rough shape in February, but I got to tell you something. It almost maintained the status quo to the end, which shocked me. I mean, Gulfstream runs like 5-6 races a day on the turf, weather permitting, and the weather does usually permit down there. So kudos to them. But back to Mr. Jerkins just quickly. I met him, for the first time, like over 20, 25 years ago, like at a serious level, besides just saying hello. And he is very emotional about the sport. I mean, you might think, looking at the guy who's done it his whole life, heck, I think the guy's been in the Hall of Fame since the Eisenhower administration. But I'll tell you, when he was campaigning Sky Beauty, I saw him one day, and we were just talking about her, and he was just like, he was so caught up in, every time she went out on the racetrack, and he found that way. He's just a great guy. He's a great guy. He's one of the few people that at 50 years of age, I still call him Mr., but a great guy. So hopefully we'll see him at Saratoga. The 3-year-olds put it to bed at the fairgrounds, and now it's time for...
And going back to the weekend, to me, the story is Cairo Prince in the 4th place finish, which gives him 24 points. And I pulled up the points leaderboard from the same time last year. Last year, right after the Florida Derby and Louisiana Derby were run. Now, Golden Soul was the last one to get into the starting gate points-wise last year, and Golden Soul
14,
got in
right?
with 14 points. At this point last year on the leaderboard, he was 24. So obviously, there's the opportunity for some leapfrogging for folks to get in front of Cairo Prince. But as was demonstrated by this, you can expect defections as well. So the last horse in at this point last year was sitting number 24 on the list, as opposed to Cairo Prince, who's currently 16. The AE horse, the next horse, Golden Soul, got in with 14. There was an also eligible, which they started, that was the first year last year.
Right, and they scratched him out before the windows opened on Friday morning, right?
He got scratched, but he did get, he did make the AE list with only 6 points. Last year at this point, he was 39 on the list. Man. So again, demonstrating there are defections that will happen. And you can look at, Toast of New York is number 2 on the list right now. He was the winner on the weekend of the UAE Derby. I would think, they haven't said one way or the other, but I put him at a 50-50 at best. At best,
yeah.
So, you can already kind of see their possible defections. But all of that said, with the 4 big 100-point races still to come, Cairo Prince is a bubble horse at best. So to me, he's the story from the weekend.
Because we were following, obviously, which is our job, and with the newness of the points last year, one of the things I think we talked about regularly, Seth, was the fact that you take the idea of 3 races at the fairgrounds, 3 races at Gulfstream Park, all the big races, but there was a lot of doubling up. A horse won, it seemed like 2 out of 3 at each racing jurisdiction. Because the idea is you could figure out all those races that you get 40 points. If you had a winner of that and you had a separate winner of the 100-point race, whether it's the Risen Stars / Louisiana Derby, whether it's the Fountain of Youth or we had a lot of doubling up. So we saw that. How many points did the top 5 or 7? Because wasn't the leader like 150 points? because it was
Last
Orb.
last year, Orb had 150
Because
on
Orb
top.
won the
This year, it's
Fountain of-
Vickers in trouble
right.
with 120.
Because Orb won the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby. Now, if those races get split, like they did this year, those two horses are in. Well, last year, one horse got in. I think you're right, Seth. I think Cairo Prince is in a heap of trouble to get in because Kieran McLaughlin has said they do not want to run in another race. And I think Kieran is starting to read the tea leaves, and he sees that he's in a lot of trouble because, Seth, you said there's 4 more 100-point races.
Yeah, we have Santa Anita Derby, Arkansas Derby, Bluegrass, and the Wood Memorial.
He's in a lot of trouble. He's
Yeah,
in a lot.
and I'm just kind of looking down the list of horses.
How many points does he have?
He has 24.
Third place
Third-
in the 100-point races is what, 20 points?
20 points.
He's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and just looking down the list at some horses behind, one that jumps off that certainly is eligible to leapfrog is Candy Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Candy Boy currently with 10 points. So a
Candy Boy has to hit the
third-place
board.
finish, boom, puts
Yep.
him
And you know
over
he
Cairo
wants to
Prince.
go. So that's
Yeah.
Candy Boy runs in the top third. He gets knocked down. He's in a lot of trouble. There's 12 slots. So I would say anybody who's got, I don't know, 4 points. I don't know what the tiebreaker is, but anybody that's got 4 points runs in the top 3 of these big 4 races will tie Cairo Prince. And I have to tell you, folks, I have no idea the tiebreaker mechanism.
Yeah,
I would think it would be whomever got the most points the most late.
there is certainly a tiebreaker.
Oh,
'cause
absolutely.
The list, you're just looking at the list this way. Toast in New York is listed at number 2, Constitution at 3, but they both have 100 points.
Yeah.
So
And there's a
there's
system.
some type of separation in there, and I'm just tiebreaker. If 2 or more horses have the same number of points, the tiebreaker is earnings in non-restricted stakes races.
Okay, well, the UAE Derby is going to help you out there for $2
Yeah.
million. That's going to help you win a lot of tiebreakers if it comes down to earnings. So, interesting weekend. Do you think we saw the Derby winner this weekend?
I vote in the ESPN poll, and
Do tell.
I did
you
not. I didn't change my top 10.
Okay.
I mean, I moved. I had Cairo Prince on top. I moved Cairo Prince down to 4 or 5. I put Tapiture was number 2, but there was nothing I saw this weekend that said I got jazzed about anybody, so Tapiture on default moves up to number 1 now. But because of the turmoil in the Asmussen barn, I'm dicey on that.
Didn't hurt untappable.
Yeah, no. But I think next week things for me will start to really shake out a little more. I mean, my top 10, I didn't move anybody in. The
It was just
Louisiana
Cairo
Derby
Prince
to me,
falling down.
yeah,
That's the only
and
effect.
it still stayed in the top 10. But the Louisiana Derby, I think it's going to be tough for me to get excited about any of them coming out of that race. Constitution, I thought about moving that one up, but
Now-
man, it was a perfect trip. He's going against history, 4th career start.
It'll be.
And I will say, I don't have Wildcat Red or General A-Rod on. That might be a mistake, but I want to see both of them do it away from golf.
And this will be the 3rd consecutive year Todd Pletcher sent an undefeated horse to the Kentucky Derby. I was against Gemologist. I was against, what was the horse? The horse with the V name last year that I didn't remember. Verrazano. I'll probably be against Constitution also. One quick note, though, because I've read some things about the Louisiana Derby, and I haven't decided yet either what that race is, but one quick thing. Palace Malice went 1 1/8 Saturday afternoon also, and I think that was one of the performances of the year he put in. I think it was only 2 ticks faster. That was I've heard some stuff out there about the Louisiana Derby, and I don't know yet, but I mean, my first time to look on pace and things, Palace Malice, by the way, if you didn't see the race, it was a great performance for him, a point performance. I've been waiting since after the Belmont Stakes for him to repeat, but take a quick look. I think they're 2/5 of a second separated. Older horses who, by the way, put on a scintillating.
No.
It's not?
It's more than that.
What is it?
Louisiana Derby 150.77, Palace
77?
Malice 148.93.
Oh, there's more than a second.
Yeah.
Forget what I just said. All right, there was this. I thought it was the high number into the next
when
number.
you
There's
said
a
that,
whole number.
I looked because one of the articles I read this morning was commenting on the time by Vickers in Trouble and said that the Crescent Derby for Louisiana breds
Yeah.
is almost the same.
They had about 5. They had a lot of stakes races. So forget that. But I tell you one thing, Palace Malice's race.
Yeah, adds
that
another
was
name to
something else.
the handicap division. And
Something
I don't really
else.
take anything away from Normandy Invasion in
No.
that it was only the second start of the year.
Second start since May 5th. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just-
yeah. So that handicap division this year, and we were talking before the show about how important the 3-year-olds are on the American racing scene and how we wish it was a little more tilted towards the older division. But I think with the older division this year, there should be a little bit of a little bit of excitement because Lee and Will Take Charge, Game On Do. It's really shame Wise Dan's scheduled to come back at Keeneland, so it's going to be a lot of fun for the older horses.
8 races at Parks, 8 races at the Big A, as they guess this will be the final Monday until Saratoga, not counting holidays at the New York Racing Association, which I've said it before, I would like the Thursday through Monday schedule. Yeah. I think Monday, NYRA really livens up the week, but they're going back to the traditional schedule after today. But Parks has 8 this afternoon. Seth has got them. Let's kick it off with 3-year-olds, maiden claimers in for 10, racing 6.
And I did Gulfstream yesterday. I didn't actually chart it. I had 3 or 4 out of 11 winners on top, but I called a couple plays of the day. One didn't get done. One came through with exact over $70, so there was a little positive ROI on the plays, and that's what we always like. So see what we can do at Parks this afternoon. 2, 6, 4, and 5. The number 2, Pesci to De Niro. And 4th career start for this one and get some class relief here. 8-5 on the morning line. I think this horse will justify it on the numbers as compared to the rest of this field. Has perhaps a little bit of a numbers edge on a couple of these. Has a significant edge on a few others. But I think with that little numbers edge and the class relief, Pesci to De Niro, again, will justify the morning line favoritism. Second spot, the number 6, Baby Cat. The last 3 races, number-wise and finishing possession-wise, 3rd place finishes. But again, the numbers as compared to the rest of this field indicate this horse will absolutely be competitive. And then El Belliciato, the number 4 horse. I think the cutback off a good effort last time. Had the lead midway to late in the race and then winds up running an okay second in a field of 7. But again, that was at 1.70 miles. I think the step back to 6 furlongs today is also going to be beneficial. So a cutback off a good try attracts my attention. In the opener, 2, 6, 4, and 5.
Second half of the early daily double. We're going to have claimers in for 7,500, non-winners at 3 lifetime, rooting at 1.70 miles.
6, 1, 4, and 5. The number 6 is real soon. This is one where you just kind of have to go for a little feel for it. This horse is dropping below the claiming price. They claimed the horse 2 back for $10,000. They ran the horse once for 16. A 16 conditional, now come in for 7,500. So that's a question mark. They're dropping it below the claiming price. But I think they're shopping for a spot where they can run well. And I think if they run well and the horse gets claimed, they come out of this okay. So I think they're just taking a little bit of a shot in here, but doing so while looking for a spot where the horse can run well. So I think real soon on this class drop will be a competitor. Put that one on top. Second spot, the number 1, Captain Easy. The last race, the win at the N2L, says that this horse fits at this level. That was an N2L 7,500. Had been racing price tag wise against better. Now is in a 75 N3L. Excuse me. But again, I think this horse has found the comfort zone at the 7,500 level. So moves up a condition, but I think still fits well. Third spot, the number 4, Habby's Pride. Another horse that's run well for 7,500. Last time was in for 10,000, but the 3 starts before that right at this level, and this horse was in the mix in each of those. Should be in the hunt again today. In the second, 6, 1, 4, and 5.
On to the third race this afternoon. We have 3, 4, or 5-year-old fillies, maiden claimers, in for 15,000, racing 6.
4, 6, 3, and 7. The number 4 is Harlan's Trick. Just a horse that seems to be on the improving numbers, improving finishing positions over the last 3 starts. Showed a nice little turn of foot last time. Has shown speed in the past before as well. 6 furlongs seems to be a good trip for this one. So it just all adds up. Harlan's Trick on top. Number 6, Riverness in the second spot. This is a little bit of a head scratcher. The Tampa debut at 25,000. Decent number as compared to the rest of this field, but it was on the turf. That was back in late December. They decided to move this horse up to Parks, lays off until March 8th, and throws in a dud on the main track, but it was at the 25 level. The horse adds Lasix today, drops. I'm just a little curious, though. This horse may be better on the turf. I'm looking for this horse to get back to that debut. But did the horse bleed last time? Is that why we're getting the Lasix? Did they not like the turf? I mean, there's just a lot of question marks. But I'm going back to that debut and hoping Class Relief, Lasix gets this one back closer to that number. But again, there's some question marks that have to be answered today. Number 6, Riverness in the 2nd spot. Number 3, Perfect Together in the 3rd spot. Showed some life in the latest effort. The career debut going back to November last year, a number that would certainly be competitive against this bunch, and seemed to maybe be cycling back to that over the last couple of starts. So we have a horse that threw in a nice number last time, could be signaling some good form, and a cutback in distance. Perfect Together attracts some attention. I'm going to call a 3-horse exacta box in here, but this is one of those where, if you believe the morning line, this will be worth it. I'm just not sure I can believe it. I think my top 2 may float down. So take a look at the board and see if there's enough value to dip in 3 deep. If the morning line holds up, there should be. But again, double check. I'll box up my top 3, 4, 6, 3, and 7.
One more before the break. We're going to have 4-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $5,000. Non-winners of a race since September 30th, going 6.
1, 4, 3, and 6. The number 1 is Plymouth Square. Plymouth Square just seems to have a little bit of back class for this level. I mean, this is a horse racing at the 5 level, but you go back and there are some numbers that are really sharp for this level of competition. I also find it interesting, this horse has had a steady diet of apprentice jockeys on board. 2 starts back, the talented apprentice Trevor McCarthy, also notable, that was a decent effort, a nice 3rd with a pretty good buyer figure, but picks up a journeyman jockey who's riding at a fairly good percentage at this meet. So the move to the journeyman, as I say, with some back numbers that are interesting, Plymouth Square on top. Number 4, Equivocation in the 2nd spot. Just interesting to me on the cutback. Last few starts, a mile and a 16th, a mile and an 1/8, 1 mile, now cuts back to a sprint distance. And I think on the cutback, of a couple of good efforts over the last couple of starts, Equivocation should be in the mix. And then the number 3, I'm Truly in the Mood, just capable on the best effort. The last one wasn't much, but it was over a muddy sealed track. You go back, there are some numbers that are certainly good enough with this bunch. And what we're looking at, 2 of the last 3 were against a little bit better. Last time was at this 5 level, but again, it was on a muddy sealed track. It was an okay 4th, but you get a dry track today at this 5 level, I'm Truly in the Mood. May be capable of showing one of his best efforts. So, in the 4th, 1, 4, 3, and 6.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from Parks.
I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV network.
It's called the fastest 2 minutes in sports, and the tradition continues Saturday, May 3rd with the 140th running of the Kentucky Derby. If you can't make it to the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany, you can still be a part of the action by visiting one of our many Easy Bet or branch locations conveniently located throughout upstate New York. For a complete list of our Easy Bet and branch locations, log on to capitalotb.com. Capital OTB and capitalotbbet.com. The most convenient ways to wager on all the Triple Crown races.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2014 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2015 Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month's contest is the Turf Hop on April 5th. So sign up today, online at capitalotb.com, or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report. Alongside Seth Merrill, I'm Anthony Mormino. 8-race card this afternoon at Parks and the Big A. We're up to race number 5 at Parks. We have 4-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $7,500. Non-winners at 3 in a lifetime, racing a mile 70.
3, 5, 2, and 4. The number 3 is AP's Buddy. AP's Buddy just might be primed to pop. It just is a horse, past couple of starts, buyer figures moving forward nicely, finishing positions moving forward nicely. Just missed last time. I think this one is sitting on a good effort today, and as I say, primed to pop and run a decent effort. AP's Buddy on top. Second spot, El Ceballos, the number 5 horse. Might be tighter today. Laid off from October until March 22nd. Showed some speed, but faded to be 4th in a field of 8. You go back, there are certainly some nice numbers from this one when this horse raced back in California. So there are some back numbers you can hang your hat on, and maybe we'll get closer to those. Again, in a second start off a layoff situation where this horse might be a little bit tighter today. And then in the third spot, we'll go to the number 2, Dean the Man. I'm going to look for this horse to rebound on the drop. This horse was claimed a couple of starts back. That was the middle of January. That was a win at a 10 N2L, 10,000 N2L. They moved over to Charlestown, moved up the condition claiming ladder, and ran 5th in a field of 5. So obviously a disappointing effort off the claim, but now they come back, drop below the claiming price. They're in a N3L condition. So again, I think maybe the return to Parks and a little class relief will get an effort closer to what we saw back in January. That's what I'm hoping anyway. In the 5th, 3, 4, 5, 2, and 4.
On to the 6th race, 4-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $5,000, going 7 furlongs.
3, 4, 1, and 5. The number 3 is Zombie Slayer, Mr. Darcy. And the question mark always at these claiming levels is, can they string a couple together? The buyer figure this one fired last time in a pretty good second place finish, clearly good enough to put this horse right up in front today. But again, you have a 5,000 claimer. They're a little bit inconsistent, so we're kind of hoping this horse can string a couple together. And you look down in the PPs, this horse has done it before, so we'll see. We'll see. But that is always a question mark at this low claiming level of consistency. Second spot, the number 4, Whistle included, just on some class relief. The last 4 starts, 10 5s and 7500s, has been racing, fairly competitively, but number-wise, I think is a good fit with this field. And again, on the class relief, we'll look for Whistle included to be right in the mix. And then the number 1, Foreign Review. This is another one. You go back in the past performances, there are certainly some numbers that put this horse right in the thick of it with this particular bunch. But the last couple, not that exciting. However, I'm going to look for a rebound to those better numbers as this horse takes a little extra class relief today and maybe more importantly, gets a cutback in distance. I think the combination of those two factors should make Foreign Review perhaps a little more potent today. In the 6th, 3, 4, 1, and 5.
We do Parks very regularly on Monday and Tuesdays, but you notice after a while they don't run very many Pennsylvania bred races. You would think, I know we've gone cards where there hasn't been a single one. Now here's something for you, only because they're gigantic names. Can you name the 2 unbelievable stallions that were both Pennsylvania breds? 2 of them. In our lifetime, it shocks people when they learn they were Pennsylvania breds.
Oh, was it one of them the Jonathan Shepherd horse?
Yes.
And I'm blanking. Well known. I'm totally blanking.
Stormcat.
Stormcat.
And the other one,
I don't know.
Danzig. 2 of the most unbelievable stallions of the last 30 years. Pennsylvania breds. It's got to be.
Now that you mention that, it's kind of funny because
it's got to be a small program.
There was a Chuck Simon story Chuck Simon for a while was based at Parks, and one of the reasons he got frustrated was he entered a horse in a race that he was just having trouble finding a race for. Finally gets it entered, but they had a rule that if a certain number of Pennsylvania breds entered into the race, it became a Pennsylvania bred race. Well, his horse was not a...
It's a floating
His horse was not Pennsylvania bred. And enough entered, it became a Pennsylvania, and so it was another week went by when he couldn't find a horse.
If you have Chuck,
couldn't find a
call
race.
his number on that won't happen now.
Yeah, and as I say, it's a little strange because it wasn't that long ago. It was only 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay, Pennsylvania breds. Entry-level allowance, non-winners of one other than racing the 2-turn mile.
4, 6, 3, and 7. The number 4 is Dixie's Last Laugh. Might benefit from a try in similar company last time. This is a lightly raced horse. The buyer figures are certainly moving in the right direction. Broke the maiden 2 starts back, and then followed it up again in a similar race last time, showing some nice speed, being right up in the thick of things early, and then running 3rd in the race. But again, it was one of those where the horse broke the maiden, moves up a condition, and got some nice education at that condition last time. I think Dixie's Last Laugh is logical in here. Number 6, Strike Down in the 2nd spot, beat the top pick last time, but and I've said it before, sometimes we get too clever and they just come back and run exactly the same. But in this case, I think there's probably more upside for Dixie's Last Laugh, having only raced 3 times so far, first time at this condition. That's a little bit of a different scenario for Strike Down, who has 52 starts under his belt. So again, I'm going with the horse with maybe a little more upside on top. 4, 6, and then in the 3rd position, we'll go with the number 3, Bellamy Express, and it's just a speed play. This is a catch me if you can kind of scenario. This horse will try to speed pop him. I'll tell you, watching some of the Gulfstream races at on the weekend, on Saturday, you just never know. These horses get out there and don't get pushed, and you're yelling the whole way down the backstretch. Somebody go up there, somebody, and they turn for home and run away. It happened probably 2 or 3 times on Saturday in a very frustrating manner down at Gulfstream. So again, this one gets a breather down the backstretch. Bellamy Express might be tough to reel in late. In the 7th, 4, 6, 3, and 7.
In the finale, the 8th race this afternoon, Fillies and Mares, starter allowance dashing 5.5.
6, 7, 5, and 3. The number 6 is She Craves Capital. Just one of those that may be the speed. This one may get out there and say, catch me if you can. So there's a speed play here for this Scott Lake trainee. Also from Scott Lake, and this is the other Scott Lake, so that attracted my attention as well. This is the longer half of his uncoupled entry. The other Scott Lake, that's the shorter price I have right underneath, number 7, Passion for All. This horse has a little bit of maybe stalking capability, so if things do fall apart up front, maybe this will be the one to pick up the pieces. And then Mendacity, the number 5 horse. Interesting, this horse showed a little speed last time at 4.5 furlongs. So this may be a horse that has some nice early foot as well. And, you know, that one in my top pick may ding-dong it out. Maybe it will set things up for Passion for All. This will be an interesting, just a strategical race, fun to watch. In the 8th, 6, 7, 5, and 3.
And talking about the longer price of uncoupled entries, an angle that I like, and I don't know if you saw it, but in the Rampart on Saturday, Marty Wolfson's nearly 50-1 shot of the uncoupled entries won the Rampart, and there was a claim of foul, but stood up for a $100 winner. Also, in case you didn't see it, it didn't happen. I've been talking about this. I thought it was an incredible run. Yesterday was the final day of racing at Hawthorne for Tim Thornton, who had won a race every single day in March. Now remember, they only run 8 race cards. He took 7 mounts yesterday. It's the first time since February 28th he didn't win a race at Hawthorne. And because Seth's site, Equidaily.com and such, nobody wrote about it. I mean, nobody in Chicago wrote about it, so Seth can't pick it up to give it to you people. But I wanted him to win so much yesterday because I don't care where you ride. I think that's great to win a race every single day in a month, in a perfect month. And he took 7 mounts yesterday, and he went over 8. I also thought, you know, and you think it's a small detail, but they only run 8 a day. I thought he did great, but the streak did come. He didn't win a race on the final day of February, and he didn't win a race on the final day of racing in March. But other than that, Tim Thornton has lighted up the board since opening day at Hawthorne. But I couldn't get my guy to the finish line to win every day in March. The streak comes to an end. When we come back, 8 on Monday at the Big A.
It's called the fastest 2 minutes in sports, and the tradition continues Saturday, May 3rd with the 140th running of the Kentucky Derby. And there's only one place to watch it, the Clubhouse Racebook. To be a part of the excitement, reserve your seat today by calling 446-4010.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Monday morning. I just put Parks in the books. We'll now turn our attention to Aqueduct 4 this afternoon. Their opener today, a state-bred claimer, $20,000 tags. These are fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. Again, we're on the main track now, going the one-turn mile.
A great sign. The main track at the Big A, as I like to say, truly the most boutique meet of the year. I think they run about 17 days or fewer on the main track, but we like these one-turn dirt miles at the Big A. Kicking it off, short fields today. Seth, I have to think that 8 races was not in the condition book. I did not check the condition book on NYRA.com.
I would virtually guarantee they did not have 8.
And not only that, they put in extra races on the overnight, so this is a horse racing population. And Seth also remarked just before we came on the air that Joel Rosario is here. I got to think he probably took mounts from Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I got to think Joel Rosario is going to Keeneland for opening day on Friday. 5-4-1 though. Make hay while the sun shines. Kate is a 10. Is 20-1. We'll take that with Miss Davis in the saddle. First off, the 12-5 claim coming out of the Mark Henning barn, formerly in the Chris Engelhardt barn. I am, not familiar with Joseph Parker. I do see 0 for 43, which certainly you can't like at all. I mean, there's no way around that. But this horse ran 10 days ago out of the Mark Henning barn. 0 for 43 is a big hill to climb, but this is a lot of Mark Henning, Engelhardt's training, so maybe that today in the short field of 5, and it's a short field of 5, but I do think we're going to get some type of price in here on my top pick, number 5. Kate is a 10 for a second, right next door at 3-5 in your heart. Rodinia going out for Rudy Rodriguez, clearly the horse to beat after an impressive every pole's a winning one on the inner dirt track. And for third, the rail, number 1, Sugar Beach. This is Chris Engelhardt's runner with Cornelio Velasquez in the saddle. 5-4-1 in this afternoon's opener.
Race number 2 this afternoon is a New York bred claimer, 16 tags, 3-year-olds. They're going 6 furlongs.
And I knew when I was about to hit print, and I've said this many times before, where I'm at 2 pages of the form per 1 sheet in front of me, when I think it was 16 pages. It was going to be light on the field size. Forget just the 8 races, but light on the field size. 3, 2, 1 in this field of 6, second half of the double. Please, no emails. My top pick, I guess in the old days, you used to say, please, no phone calls, Seth, but now it's please, no emails. Gary Contessa's runner, and just for kicks and giggles, Gary Contessa put a very short video up on Twitter today about it being springtime. It said he had a horse working out in the absolute slop with snow everywhere, but we're hoping Eddie Castro gets them out for Gary Contessa here off of a 6 furlong sprint on the inner, a runner-up with Taylor Rice in the saddle for second. Right next door in the starting number 2, Lulu Rocks. Bruce Levine sends out this runner for Rowdy and Mary Valetti and Tom Lemmy. This horse makes the first start of the year, first start since breaking the maiden for a tag on December 14th. And for third, number 1, Mabry's Challenge. This is a Midwest thoroughbred. We've seen Laura Perillo have these horses since September. An impressive winner in the slop back on February 21st. And a nice third-place finish on the Ides of March most recently. 3-2-1.
Aqueduct's third, a starter allowance at the $40,000 level. These are fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, 7.5.
And we have 6 in here once again, and 5 of them are taking on winners for the first time. 5 of them have just broken their maiden in the most recent effort. My top pick is the one who doesn't fit that answer. 3-5-2, ladies and gentlemen. Brown Melissa, who 3 races back broke the maiden. Subsequent to that has run in starter allowance and optional claiming races, and first time versus winners against much tougher. Hit the board in a runner-up position. So this horse is racing well. The offspring of Big Brown gets back to 1 turn now, albeit this is 7.5 furlongs versus the 2-turn 1 mile distance, but it is 1 turn this afternoon. For second, number 5, Star Empress. Rudy Rodriguez sends out this horse first off the claim for $35,000. And you know, the stats for Rudy Rodriguez are obviously very, very impressive, including first off the claim, 30% nearly. And for third, number 2, Kanza going out for Carl Domino. In the 14th career start today, takes on winners for the first time, 3-5-2.
Race number 4 this afternoon, an allowance, starter allowance at the $16,000 level. These are fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. They will go 7 furlongs.
And the last thought I had on this race was either to take the entire entry for Trisha Farrell or just to take 1. I did settle on the 1A we'll pitch it later, but capitalotb.com. When I take the entry, I put the letter E, but in this case, I did take Conga Bella. Scheduled a break from the number 7 post position. That is the far outside, ladies and gentlemen. Over at Parks most recently, drew the other part of the starting gate, the far inside. They're off. You're 7th. You finish 2nd. Now you get the outside with good speed coming out of a strong pace race. I like the tactical advantage for Rajiv Mara. For second, number 2, Very Cherry Candy, coming off of a victory for David Jacobson. And if you think the numbers for Rudy Rodriguez are good, how about David Jacobson? I was teasing. What did he get to? About the last week in December for David Jacobson to break Gary Contessa's record for wins. And I was teasing because he was on such a hot spell. I thought he'd have his own record broken by the Kentucky Derby time. But this horse showed a good effort rooting. Now shortens up, which I like. For third, number 5, 7 Dreams, 7 off the claim for Michelle Nevin. A good effort first off the claim 4 days ago. 1A, 2, and 5. And I'll tell you the reason I didn't take the entry. I definitely want Conga Bella. I'm okay with Wild K, but I didn't want to get stuck with Wild K by herself. I wanted Conga Bella, so that's why I took the 1A, 2, 5.
All right, let's take our last break of the hour. Again, it's only the 4th race, but we only have 8 today at Aqueduct, so we'll head to a commercial. When we come back, we'll look at the last 4 races in New York for this afternoon. Stay tuned.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right. The 2014 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2015 Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month's contest is the Turf Hop on April 5th. So sign up today, online at capitalotb.com, or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
May 3rd, it's the 140th running of the Kentucky Derby, and you can watch it at CapitalOTBBet.com. With live streaming and 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, CapitalOTBBet.com is the most convenient way to wager on the Derby.
Race number 5 this afternoon at Aqueduct is a conditional claimer, $16,000 tags. Non-winners are 3 lifetime the condition. These are 3-year-olds and up. They will go 6.5.
4-2-7, ladies and gentlemen, as Irad Ortiz goes out for Jeremiah Engelhard with a very, very live runner. This horse was a $16,000 claim from the David Jacobson barn, but boy, hasn't missed a beat except for 2 races back, but the 3 other races very sharp for second. Number 2 going out for Jason Service. Now, here's an example, Seth. I haven't talked about it much of late. You look at this horse, the past performances, and when the Daily Racing Form came up with this line, I think it was about 20, I think it was 93 they came up with this line, which was, in those days, supposed to indicate any layoff of 45 days or more. It was great. I've said it, I was on a rampage, not a rampage, but I mentioned it many times. They have to change it now, because this, you look at this and it looks like a whole bunch of layoffs. But I got to tell you, in my opinion, there probably should be 2 fewer for this horse. My point being, I think this horse isn't constantly laid off, but comes on now off of a non-winner to 2 lifetime in the next reasonable spot with Manny Esquivel in the saddle again and for 3rd. And I don't pick him for 3rd because the name is grammatically incorrect, but number 7, 10 items or less, I say I wish it was fewer, comes off of a victory in a restricted claimer. That was the 2L. Now Bruce Brown tries to win 2 in a row since getting this horse in the barn at the next level, which is the 3L for me. I consider the dollar amount to be subservient to the 2L and the 3L, so I'm not worried about running for $3,500 more. 4-2-7.
10 items or less is actually grammatically incorrect. You can't say that as well as fewer.
No, it's fewer.
We're getting it from
That's
off the set, too.
Well, what's interesting is you go to most grocery
isn't it implied
stores.
that 10 items or less than 10 items? Isn't that what is implied?
No, it's fewer. When you say a number and you're exacting, it's supposed to be the idea of fewer. You could say there are less people at the track today than yesterday, but you would say there's 25 fewer people at the track than yesterday. And I did notice, and it will remain nameless, we have chains that have it incorrect, but the other day I saw for the first time a chain that had it correct on the sign above.
Oh, okay. Well, you can give credit to the correct chain.
No, I don't think that'd be fair.
To the correct chain? You can't give them a tip of the hat? All right, okay. The 6th at Aqueduct this afternoon, a starter allowance.
I think they're very close to us.
Okay, there you go. Starter allowance at the 16 level. For 4-year-olds and up, they'll go 1 mile.
But just to finish the English lesson for the day, there is a group that argues that idea, but it's more correct to say fewer. 4-5-1, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go away from the Joel Rosario horse. I'll get to him in a second. But Grand Rapport, to me, if I want to beat a 3-5 shot for David Jacobson, I want to take the other David Jacobson horse. Now, we're not going to get 49-1 as we got in the Rampart with Marty Wolfson taking the longer shot horse, but I don't think it's as much of a flyer because I think Groomed to Victory is about an 82 buyer speed figure, and that's where I am here. 4 second, 3-5 with Joel Rosario, number 5. Groomed for Victory, who loves the main track at the Big A, is in razor-sharp form. David Jacobson claimed this horse for $35,000 from Michelle Nevin. He is 25% off the claim, and for 3rd, number 1, Turbin, comes in off of route races at Parks, now gets the 1-turn mile. That to me is a very, very dangerous combination. And you throw in Ramon Preciado. I also am thinking that Turbin is the one that, for me, is going to be the most positively affected by Groom for Victory. And how do I mean that? Price. I think Turbin is going up on the board off this 5-1 morning line. 4-5-1.
Aqueduct 7 today, a state-bred optional claimer with a C condition, $75,000 tags for the claiming price. Fillies and Mares, 4-year-olds and up, going 1 mile.
Seth, I was just doing a big count. I'm not so sure there's 50 horses on the card today.
Oh, yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
I'm thinking, right at the top of my head, I'm thinking 48, 49. I don't know that we get to 50 today. 5-3-1, Princess Mara gets my top pick. First off, the claim for Rich Schosberg, a nice 2-turn effort as the beaten favorite. For second, number 3, Lady Grace Note, making the first start of the year for Jason Service. And for third, the entry number 1, Mitch Friedman, sending out either part for me, ladies and gentlemen. 5-3-1 in the 7th.
The 8th race this afternoon is a maiden claimer, 12-5 tags, Fillies and Mares, 3-year-olds and up. They'll go 1 mile.
Very infrequently, I would say fewer than one race a month do I get exasperated in a good way. I'm not pulling my hair out, not that there's a lot left anymore, but my selections are here 1, 6, and 2. And the reason I get exasperated is because my rule of thumb is if it takes you a while looking at a race, don't land on the chalk. I have a morning line even money favorite, but here was my one saving grace. I think it's the blinkers. I think the blinkers is what has changed this offspring of Bustin' Stones. There's not a lot here. I was looking elsewhere. This is a rarity, Seth. I have a horse running in New York today, which has a buyer's speed figure that is we saw when we've done Beulah, and that is the multiple negative zeros. We don't see them on the NYRA circuit very often, but number 4 is a multiple negative zero who's also 50-1. But Keen on Green, number 1, has really changed the entire program for Gary Contessa with the blinkers. Just to give you a recap of the first 3 starts without blinkers, beaten lengths, 19, 13, 22. Adds blinkers, back-to-back second-place finishes. Now, usually that earmarks to me this is clearly a bet against, but I didn't know where to go, so I did land there. Number 6 is my second pick. I like the most recent effort behind a runaway winner who won by 10 on St. Patrick's Day. And for third, number 2, Fancy and Flight. Bruce Brown, I think, has had a nice couple of months over the winter time. Samuel Camacho Jr. gets them out. Second race since New Year's Day. 1-6-2 in the 8th and final from New York, where we think there's probably fewer than 50 horses running.
And it may be an interesting little side note in the history of the Handicappers Report. Keen on Green may be the first selection made as a top pick by the handicappers on the show within a 4-day period. Jeff had him on top on Thursday as well. Because I noticed because it's the 10-pound apprentice.
Yeah,
and I commented, had him in the lead until late in the race, and then just got passed to run second that day. But
I think you're probably right.
He's back quick.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I've been looking at other jurisdictions, and we know we've talked about it with top flight horses where these trainers can't seem to get enough time in between. But I got to tell you, Seth, I'm looking at other, like I said, 6 other places besides New York, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of times in my far right-hand column is days off layoffs, and I'm writing some 5s and some 6s. Not too many. I don't think I've written a 2, and I don't think I've written a Willie Beeman 3, but 4, 5, and 6. It's not just the guys in New York we see do it, the Jacobson and Rudy Rodriguez. There's other places. I mean, we have horses nowadays winning off 300. I'll tell you, the one day at Oaklawn Park, they had the 2 horses that won off of the 200-plus day layoff. They hadn't run at Oaklawn Park since Oaklawn Park closed the previous spring. So you have the absolute extremes now of horses, and it's not just the 1 or 2 named guys who play the claiming game. It seems to be spreading the wealth. So we will see. What else will we see this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen? Monday afternoon, Parks will kick us off, followed by Beulah, the Big 8, Will Rogers Downs, Turf Paradise, Dover, Northfield, Mountaineer, Yonkers, Woodbine, Australia A and B. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed any of Seth or my selections, we invite you to go to capitalotb.com. Click on the Handicappers Report. You'll get Seth's 8 selections from parks. They had to shrink me, Seth. On Saturday, they needed to get the extender sheet for 14. Now they need to shrink us back to 8. And also, we invite you to set up a Capital Bets account, ladies and gentlemen, at capitalotbbet.com. Capital Off-Track Betting, state-of-the-art wagering platform, makes you eligible for the many, many contests we run throughout the year. Plus, I know today's March 31st, and we usually run these in segments of the month, but go on capitalotb.com. I think the bet 50, get 50 at least should be good for today. It's March 31st. We usually run these for a month at a time, but it's once you wager 50, you get 50. It's Monday, so Racing Across America, Mr. Seth, who do we have on?
Mike Penna, his regular Monday visit, Horse Racing Radio Network. We'll take a look back at some of the stakes action. His Horse Racing Radio Network, they were live on track down at Gulfstream, so we'll concentrate on some of those Gulfstream races. Certainly in our last Monday visit from Andy Serling from the New York Racing Association. I say that's the last Monday visit because it's the last racing day at Aqueduct for a while at least.
He did in studio Saturday.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk, obviously today at Aqueduct we'll get a couple ideas, but I want to get some of his thoughts on the weekend racing as well. He covered Dubai, so we'll talk a couple of the races there, but also get some of his thoughts on the two derbies.
I didn't watch all of it, but I will say one thing, and you know, we're lucky to see Andy in New York every day. We know he's a better handicapper. You know, his last shout out was the price on Game on Duty. He did the same thing for the second, Dubai Duty Free, the second big race. He shouted out, couldn't believe the price on Gentle Donna, who was a very impressive winner. Well, that wraps up the Handicappers Report. I'm out of here. He's staying up next, Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.